Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sponsors. Thank you for your investment in our city. It does not go unnoticed, and we appreciate it very much. Just a couple quick introductions, and thank you to the people who do the heavy lifting in Bellevue. If you just raise your hand when I call your name, our Finance Director, Rich Severson, Planning Director, Tammy Palm, Fire Chief, Guido, Jim Risto, our City Administrator, and again, Kathy Welch, City Councilwoman, and Chief Clary, our Police Chief. So thank you guys. So Bellevue, we went through a big annexation package, and I think most of you know about that and have heard about it, but we picked up 15 subdivisions last year and 350 parcels which were built around in Bellevue. So that really changed our growth. We added 10,543 residents to our population, which brings us up to 64,127 now. Actually puts us in front of Council Bluffs, so really it's not the Omaha Council Bluffs metro area, it's the Omaha Bellevue metro area. That's a huge increase. It also, it's 28% population increase, which brings us to the fastest growing city and the fastest growing county. Granted, Papillion's right there. We beat them by 0.1%, but I'm going to be saying this for as long as I'm here, so you got 10 years. We do have our finances with the help of Rich. Bellevue has a AA+ rating, which is probably the highest rating we can get unless we start increasing our median income in the city. So excellent rating. It's allowed us to do a lot of refinancing on bonds, getting those rates a little bit lower, and you can see that the financial position per capita expenditures for the city of Bellevue, we spend $1,200. It actually went down from this chart that's in the book that's on your table. We spend $1,237 per person from our budget on this coming budgeted year. It was $1,400. That's an incredibly low number to run a city on. It's actually the lowest in the state, and by far. So you can look through that chart and get some more information on that. But that's a pretty impressive chart, and you get a lot of services for your money in Bellevue. And you got a pie chart in those books as well. It shows you where that breakdown is. Obviously, most of it's in your public safety and roads. So we have additional 18 new hires over this past year in Bellevue. Our fire department and our police department are fully funded and staffed now. That was an issue when we came into office. Finances weren't there. Done a great job of getting our numbers up as far as police officers and firemen and their equipment, top-notch equipment. So I think they're pretty happy, and we're happy with it, and they do a great service. I'll skip over some of these, but we're putting $18 million for allocated street repairs and construction. We've got several projects going on. 36th Street, that's been a big project for us. South of 370, we'll finish that project up. It'll be 4-lane in the fall of 22, so fall of next year. Then we're going to move to the north side of 370 and take that to Cornhusker. So that's an ongoing project, but Bellevue really needs that north-south corridor in town so we can get our own population across town. Park improvements, making $1.7 million improvements in the parks. And we've added the Stonecroft all-inclusive playground that's got music. Any kid can use that regardless of his physical abilities. So that's a really neat park. It's if you want to go check it out, that's really cool. And I think it's the only one in the metro area. Maybe it's the biggest one, maybe. So that's a really impressive park. We added a splash pad in Stonecroft Park this year. Top-notch pad. It was well attended, and that opened up in July. We have another one off of Betts Road as well. And we've improved a couple of our pools over the years. Bellevue Cemetery improvements. We actually are changing that old system over, so we have a kiosk in there, so we'll have it fully functional here shortly. So when you want to look up a person's name, find their plot, you can actually go up to the kiosk and it'll locate that plot for you, so you can track it down real easy. Bellevue Library Enhancement, we were going to increase the size and improve the library, but we've kind of moved in another direction. It's a $6 million improvement, but we're looking at a new facility. It's actually a property that's already in the area, taking that property over, and we're going to get a lot more square footage and a lot more bang for our buck on that. So library improvements, you're going to see some huge improvements on that over the coming months. Some of the money that, when the city's in a little better financial shape, you got a little bit more money for community development. So some of the things we've spent that money on is we help light up Bellevue, provide the lights. If you haven't seen that, come out this Christmas, but that's a pretty impressive animated light show that we put on in Washington Park. There's also a tree out in front of the Lead Center, Bellevue Public Schools, and that's year-round. This is unprecedented. Bellevue just finished signing 4 union contracts for 4-year terms, so that's never been done in Bellevue before. It works out really good. I know the finance director probably will be happier in 2 to 3 years once inflation hits in, because that's probably when they're going to actually want a little bit more money. But anyway, four contracts. That's awesome. Change in council wards. We're waiting on MAPPA to get our wards, but Bellevue went from 5 wards and a at-large council member. We're just going to go to 6 wards on this next election. Those maps will come out, and we'll find out where each one of those wards are going to be. There's the council members. You get Thomas Burns in 1, Bob Stenson 2, Paul Cook in 3, Kathy Welch in 4, Don Preister in 5, and Jerry McCaw's our at-large member. And again, those lines are all going to change here shortly, just like everybody else's. LB 9 was a state law that got passed last year that really helped us out, and that was the ability, it gives Bellevue the ability to annex over military property, which the base sits on our, well, it used to sit on our southern side, but we've encompassed the whole area to the south of that now, so it allows us to jump over the base like it's not even there, so it treats it as though it's contiguous property. That's very important for us. And one of those other things where that community betterment funds goes into is American Heroes Park. That park is it's probably a 2 to 4 acre lake down there. We're finding out it's becoming a destination. When you go down there, there's not just Bellevue cars there, so great lake to fish in. It's got some flat walking paths. We're going to add an amphitheater to that this coming year. We're starting on that. And that'll be a nice, probably a 40 by 60 stage, so it'll handle a lot of venues. There's a fishing dock down there, and I know one of the Sarpy County Chamber legacy projects, they're putting a cover over that dock. So, and then there's restrooms, and we're bringing power. We're improving that every month. So, great park. So check that out. Windsor Cove Campground. That's the old Hayworth Park. The city owns that. It flooded out several times over the last couple decades, I think 3 times. So we turned it over to a private investor, Roger Windsor, who owns Rogers Towing in Bellevue. Clean that park up, so it's all on his dime if it floods, but he's doing a great job of getting that cleaned up, so that offers weekly camping or daily camping or seasonal camping down there as well. So that's right on the river access. Premier Sports Village, everybody's heard about the old World Baseball Village that we had down south of the base. That property. They've struggled over the years. The city bought that ground, bonded some money, annexed the area. Had some tough luck with the floods, with the tornado. But anyway, Premier Sports Village out of Omaha took over that park, and they have filled up that park all year long. They've been leasing it from us on a lease option agreement, and they are in the process of purchasing that property now. So they're going to take it off our hands, and we'll get it over to private investment that way. So great facility. If you got kids, you've been there, I'm sure. Fort Crook Road update. We're working with MAPA on a mass transit. Everybody's seen the Orbit buses that run up and down Dodge Street. That's the new mass transit. And if you've noticed, there's 3 huge complexes that are being built along Dodge Street, apartment style, condo style apartments. And that's our idea for Fort Crook Road. That's our vision for the future. This is a big undertaking, but if they bring the Orbit buses like they're thinking down 24th Street to Q Street, we'd love to pick up that mass transit from Q, bring it down Railroad Avenue and all the way to the base. That way we can start to fill in that missing middle everybody's talking about. We can create more living, more shopping just for local shopping. And they can work in the area, or they'll have transportation to their work with the mass transit. So that's our vision for Fort Crook, just densifying that area over the years. We talked about the 36th Street project. The Highway 34 and 75 future development. That's one of the metro area's largest undeveloped interchanges right now. So we're trying to attract office type space and maybe some regional type activity centers, water park, that type of thing. So that's a huge project for us. We're making sure we develop that correctly, because that's going to be Bellevue's economic engine for decades to come. So we've also got LB 840 money down in that area, which allows us to invest as a city. We can option ground, buy ground, work on infrastructure. So we're putting a really good plan in place. The sewer will be down there, Sarpy Sewer will be down there in 2024, and we are bringing water down at that same time. It's one of the big projects we're working on. Old Town Living Development, we've heard about this project that's probably 6 years. They tore the old city buildings down on Mission Avenue, and they're putting a $40 million living and retail shopping, 2 blocks of buildings on that, which that'll be a huge catalyst for Old Town Bellevue. And that's, I think it's 300 apartments and about 20,000 additional square feet of retail space underneath it. There's also Old Town Tavern, that's on Franklin. That's a new investment. That's about $1 million rooftop bar, restaurant, and music venue that's just started construction. We've got it's actually 2 6-plex condo developments south side of Washington Park, so we're putting 12 units, developers putting 12 units there. That's kind of a row house type development. There's a 10-unit townhome development at the end of Jefferson Street. These are blighted projects. You're not going to get these projects done without using tax increment financing, which you have to have blighted areas for that, so that it's another funding mechanism. But there's a lot of, about $50 million worth of growth starting in Old Town Bellevue, which is really going to help the area as well. Planned residential neighborhoods, we've got Bell Lago South, 48th and Capehart, Alta Colina at 48th and Capehart, Liberty, Phase 2, 40th and Capehart. Currently there's 1,210 available lots to build on in the Bellevue area. First rules to shut your phone off. Andrew, you can start that clock now too. The multifamily developments, there's numerous ones. Jim was talking about Freedom Village. That's one we're really excited about. They're making use of a lot that's been sitting there for a long time. Used to have a water park that failed on that property, but that's going to add to the Hillcrest development there, right on Harlan Drive, 370. Redwood development, 25th Street's awesome. That's all owned. They're building a whole subdivision and they're renting those units out. Bellevue Downs Racetrack, I think everybody's heard about the racetrack. We're working on that right now. That's a huge entertainment project for Bellevue. A casino would follow if the Racing Commission approves this. So we're really excited about that. That'll go along that 75 corridor. So I appreciate it. And thank you for coming out. Again, we truly appreciate your investment in our community. Thank you.
Boy, this is such a fast-growing area. Just amazing how fast we're growing. Bellevue is the fastest growing, and then Gretna, you're killing it. I'm like, wonder, Andrew, what do you think the fastest growing town in the world is? He's like, well, Mike, it's a duh. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, it's Ireland. It's the capital of Ireland. I'm like, Dublin? He goes, yeah, it's Dublin every day. So, all right, that's as good as it gets. I didn't promise it'd be a good joke, but that's my joke. Okay. So welcome to Gretna. We're the other side of the county. You know, I drove down what we used to refer to as Highway 370. I'm going to call it I-370 now. Because, boy, it is so busy between these two sides of the county. So it's really exciting to see all the growth. You know, Gretna, we started as kind of a sleepy little town, like I said, agriculture town, really. And over the, you know, and part of the reason was our location, to be honest with you. Now, people ask me now, how big is Gretna? Well, I say somewhere between 5,000 and probably 30,000 now, because we had 5,000 people in July. Through the annexation, now we have somewhere between 9 and 10. Now, our school district has 30,000 people, and it's projected the community is, when it's built out, be closer to 50 to 60,000 in 20 years. So we're seeing some, you know, just fantastic growth. On the map, you'll see the current area of Gretna. It kind of follows the I-80 a little bit, and a little bit of a north. And, you know, first I got to thank Miss Paula Dennison, our city administrator, that just took over in June. And then Tammy Tisdale, city clerk, and Candace Cover, the deputy clerk. I mean, these three people have been super busy. We recruited Paula from Stillwater, Oklahoma, you know, in this summer, early summer. And said, yeah, you know, she came to Gretna. It looks like a nice little community, and it doesn't snow. And so, she stuck around and did a fantastic job, kind of navigating the waters. There's a lot of to do. I think our ETJ went from something like 12,000 people to almost 44,000 acres. I mean, so it's been tremendous growth. So that is Gretna, where we cover now. So they kept saying, why is Gretna such a busy town? Why do people keep coming out here? Well, one is obviously the school district. We have just a fantastic school. You know, people move out. You know, OPS does a nice job, but we think we do things a little different in Gretna and have a, you know, just a super administrator and great teachers. Then our I-80 proximity. We're just between two of the biggest metros in Nebraska. I think if you drew a circle around Gretna, and see if I have this nice brochure they updated, somewhere around our 60-mile radius is 1.3 million with a workforce of 710,000. Population within 30 miles is almost 1 million. So we really provide kind of access to both markets being out there. So we're really excited. Some of the other things is our quality of life. We have golf courses. We have another one being built we're pretty excited about. You know, our shopping with the Nebraska crossing. We have a couple vineyards. We kind of will go to Ashland, and then we'll go to Bob's place over in Springfield. And then, you know, just the Papillion Park. So there's some super amenities to live in Gretna. So that's kind of attracting not only the schools and our proximity, but the quality of life. But more importantly, it's community. I had somebody talk to me recently, a developer that wants to come into town and do some stuff. And he's like, you know the difference? His son was playing football, I think it was for Burke or somebody, and they came out and played a game. And he goes, when I'm in Gretna, I just feel like it's different. It's a community. The people in the crowds, you go downtown, it just feels different than a lot of areas. And I think that's the same with a lot of Sarpy County communities. We're not just one big metro. Everyone has a kind of personality to it. And I think people realize that when they go to all these different communities. So thank you very much. We're excited to have Hillcrest coming out to Gretna. You know, not only is it, you know, you guys are a great business, but it provides us fantastic service for our community. We have so many young growing families, and literally they come from across the state or around the country. And with that, they leave their parents behind somewhere. So being able to bring those families and keep them together is, a fantastic value to the community. Additionally, it brings all the economic development for the area and up to 100, 200 jobs over the course of time. So we're really excited and supporting you guys however we can, and really look forward to having you out there. So thank you. Their next project, and I think that's supposed to be between an $80 and $90 million project, two phase, and with construction costs keep going up, it'll be $100 million before it's over. But this is our next project, is our Gretna Crossing Park. It's anchored in the southern part of our current community. It's going to have an aquatic center, a recreational center, and then also an outdoor park. And we started digging dirt this summer. We're diligently working on the amenities and give everything detailed out to fine line. I think it's opened in fall of 2023. I think they're going to want the pool open earlier, but we're super excited. This will, one thing about some of our communities, we're almost building communities as we go. Because if we get to be as big as we think we will, we need this type of space and this type of amenities for these families. So we're super excited about this park. Some of the things that are popping up, we have a fairway that's well on its way, should open in the spring. Cobalt Credit Union opened, I think it was June or July. Then we have AutoZone going in, and then on the commercial side, a Ditch Witch, which is kind of neat. And that's just the things that are out now. There's a Hy-Vee that opened up. I think there'll be a lot more to that Hy-Vee within a year or two. Our rooftops, that number is kind of crazy, because this is what I had, I think, 2 months ago. So we had 599 approved. I just kind of updated it. Now it's 966, and with another estimate of lots of 400 coming out the area. So right now we're over 1,400 lots kind of coming online. In addition, there's, I don't even know how many more, but it's that number is going to grow. So while all this is happening, we're just super excited about the growth, but we also need to respect all those decisions to move our community and make sure we deliver a nice community for the people moving out there. Okay, kind of our path nodes. I just throw this out there for some of the people looking at kind of the developments. We have part of the other reason that Gretna's kind of has a lot of opportunity and growth, because we have some real big corridors. We have the corridor from the interstate. We have the corridor for North Omaha, or Elkhorn, that comes down, and then 370, and then when that interchange opens up, that'll be another corridor. So we have some super corridors that are really developing, and I think the Department of Transportation is going to have their hands full as things keep going. The future of Gretna, we understand, the things I'm showing you now is obviously things we know and we can share. There's so much more that's really in the works. And Paul and I have talked quite a bit about, well, how do you put this puzzle together? Because there's so many big pieces that when we're done in 5 or 10 years, that you can look back and go, this was done right. And so we're spending a lot of time and kind of just starting on a study to kind of see what that looks like. Where do these pieces belong? What's our brand? What's our community look like in 10 years or 50 years? And make sure we do that right now. So when we get done and we sit back in our easy chair, that we'll be proud of what we did. So we're super excited about some of the assets that have talked to us, and we're more excited about what we can build out. Our biggest challenges probably are, I think everybody in Sarpy County has some of the same things, roads and sewer, that infrastructure, it costs a lot of money. And I know developers kind of complain about, wow, how come this costs and that costs? The county does a lot of the same thing. Well, to build roads and sewers is expensive, but that is really critical to keep the county growing. The economy with interest rates, supply chains, materials, it could stall things out a little bit. And while that might slow things, I think ultimately, whether it's in 2 or 5 or 10 years, it'll keep moving. And labor, I think Rusty talked a little bit about the missing middle. I think, we can't keep building $500,000 houses in Gretna because you won't have anybody to do the work. We need a diverse, housing styles. So whether they're apartments or smaller housing or whatever it might be, we need people to do work and be laborers and diversify our communities. So that's kind of a challenge for us, and partly because of the materials, but so we're working on that as well. And then obviously, I think, been doing this for 11 months now, and what I've really been struck by is how well the county works together, and the fact that we do meet and we do collaborate and we talk through things really helps, because if we all were in a complete fight over the same pieces of pie or didn't work together, I think the county would struggle a little bit. But because there's so much collaboration and cooperation, it really makes a big difference. So thanks, guys, and the county for everything you do. So with that, I will move along. Thank you for your time.
I'm Doug Ginnig with the City of La Vista. I want to thank the Bellevue Chamber for holding this, Michelle and her team. The one thing I want to mention before I get started, and I'm probably going to skip all over with this PowerPoint, but I want to talk a little bit. Mike touched on it, I think Rusty touched on it, and you'll hear it again. The cities and the cooperation that we have along with the county. And I do want to introduce Don Kelly's here today. He's the county chair. The teamwork that we've been able to do is the reason for our growth. We all want to win these projects. We all want to talk about the new business that's coming to our city. But if I'm going to lose it, I want to lose it to another city in Sarpy County. There's a reason that Sarpy County continues and will for a long time be the fastest growing community. The sewer agency, which is a collaboration of those 6 entities, is going to open up 60% more of developable ground in Sarpy County. When you think about that, when you think about the growth of Sarpy County and how we've led the state in growth, we still got 60% that we haven't been able to develop because of a sewer. The cooperation of all of those entities together, especially led by Sarpy County, is going to open that up. So our growth is going to be great in the future. You know, there's a lot in common. When you heard Andrew talk about, read the bios of the mayors, there's a lot of things that we share. I think the love of Sarpy County, our devotion, our dedication, our passion to our own cities, and not a one of us received a national endorsement from President Trump this week. So, we're all good there. A little bit about La Vista. This is our 61st year. We're the youngest city. Our story is going to be a little different than a lot of the other cities because, to be honest, we're landlocked. We've got interlocals with all of the other cities. And at this time, we have no more residential plats out there. So we're into revitalizing our city, and doesn't mean that we're out of room for growth. It's just that we're not going to grow population-wise like the other cities. As you can see there, in 2000, we were at 11.6. We jumped up quite a bit. And then this year, the 2020 census, we don't show much of a population growth. If we annex areas in our ETJ, we could grow to 35,000. I'm not in a hurry to do that because if we can't provide services and amenities in the way that we think our citizens deserve, we'll grow slowly, we'll grow conservatively, we'll take care of what we have, and we'll plan for the future. As you can see, our living index, the one thing I want to point out here is our owner-occupied, we're at 56%. That's a little bit low. We've got a very high concentration of multifamily. We've also got quite a few rentals in our city. Don't know about the other cities, but we were probably the first one to put in a rental inspection program. A lot of landlords probably aren't shaking their head yes, because we hold them to a standard of safe living for the people that are renting from them. What that also means is that we've got very clean neighborhoods. Our houses are in good shape. Financial strength. In this year's budget, we've got over $11 million in our cash reserves. That will get spent down over the years with some of our major projects. 3.4 of that is being held, even though it's in there, is being held back for state incentives. If you've heard me talk in the past, you know that we've been working on making this state incentive program more transparent to the local entities so that we can do our financial planning. It was just a few short years ago that when incentives were given out by the state and were not at the table, we would get a letter and say, surprise, you're not going to get your sales tax for 6 months. You can imagine what that would do to your personal budget if you didn't receive a check for 6 months. It's the same at the city level. So that cash reserve is a little bit high. Our Moody's ratings were AA3, which is a very solid rating, which keeps our interest rates on our bonds and our ability to borrow on them bonds even more. Diversified tax base. We don't want to rely on property tax forever. Right now, property tax, a lot of people don't want to admit it, but it is the most consistent revenue source that a city has. It's also the one revenue that doesn't get affected by outside factors as much. But as you all know, we cannot just continue to tax our businesses and our homeowners. We'll price them out of their home. So some of the things that we've done is our hotel occupation tax accounts before COVID of $1 million a year. It's starting to come back. You can see there that there's approximately 2,200 hotel rooms in Sarpy County. La Vista has about 760 of them, all at the interchange of Harrison and Giles. The good thing about that tax is probably 95% of it is paid for by out-of-state or out-of-La Vista residents. Our restaurant tax generates $700,000 a year, and Keno should actually be on there. Our Keno game averages approximately $1 million a year to the city's coffers. What do we do with all that money? I'm going to talk about some projects and things like that, but just the basic stuff that's been mentioned. Obviously, we keep our streets clean. We make sure that they're under good repair, snow removal. We provide amenities for our citizens. We've got a huge sewer update coming up. And then obviously, we've got investment back into our community. Well, this started out as the House of Nines 61 years ago. Like I said, we're the youngest city. I can tell you that the people on the right are the founders of our city. They never would have imagined where we're at today. Talking to my council member, Terry Quick, who is here today, she's got 30 plus years of service to our community on the city council. The changes that she has seen in our city, from some very small starter homes to what we've become today, is an absolutely fantastic story. I owe a lot of that debt of gratitude to my city council for having the vision and the straightforward decisions that they've made to plan our future for future generations. As you can see, we offer a multitude of different type of housing. These are some of our apartment complexes. That's also the Merriweather. Sorry, Jim. We've talked about it. But providing senior living in our communities allows us to have our kids at youth level continue to live in our city until they've reached their senior years. And I know that you guys are doing the same thing, so we're happy to be able to provide that. We offer a variety of housing in our city, from starter homes to what I would call middle income, to some that are obviously the higher income. But as Rusty said, I think you can't have all expensive homes. You've got to have people. You've got to have blue collar, and you have to have white collar individuals in your city. We also provide a lot of amenities, as do the other cities, but they're great to have those community events. Our Keno dollars, the reason I mentioned that, all three of those buildings, that's our city hall, our public library, and our police department, all paid for with Keno funds. I truly think we've used our Keno funds in La Vista as well as anybody. Businesses that we have in the area, even though we are only a city of 17,000, we've got some national businesses in our city, and to be honest, some international businesses. You can see a list of them there. These are major corporations that call La Vista home. A lot of that is because of the interchange that was put in years ago. The growth that Papillion and Gretna and Springfield and Bellevue are going to see with that new interchange It's exciting. It wasn't that many years ago, guys, that none of these were in La Vista, so I'm excited about your growth. Talk about 84th redevelopment. If you've heard me talk here before for like the last 16 years, you've heard me talk about 84th Street redevelopment. Walmart announced they were leaving our city before I became mayor. I'm in my 16th year. It's becoming a reality now. This is a private development. I do want to mention that. The city will be there to do infrastructure, parking, and then amenities that I'm going to show you. The Astro Theater, the dirt work has started on that, as you can see. That is a music venue facility. Mammoth Productions out of the Missouri area, 1% locally, and then City Ventures has entered into this project. It will be a 2,500 indoor seating music venue with an amphitheater outside that'll seat up to 5,000 individuals. A lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, a lot of traffic coming into our city. You can see some of the other developments that are already there. We've made a tremendous investment into this. That is a rendering of the Astro Theater. It'll be very user-friendly. It's going to be very welcoming to the people. And then on the underneath the amphitheater, just a little picture of some of the family amenities that we're going to have. That's an overview of it. It is very hard to see, but the top of that is actually the $5,000 amphitheater. Underneath it will be bathrooms, concessions, a lot of the amenities, and you can see that we're going to use our body of water, and we're going to become just like the boardwalk. We're going to have our own, and I think I'm really excited about that. A before and after picture in the bottom right-hand corner is what it looks like today and what it's transitioning to, so we're very excited about that. That's a little better view of it. It's going to be a great place. When we started this, when Walmart left, we took it as an opportunity. Did it take away our tax base? Yes. It hurt our sales tax base. It hurt who we are. But what it did is it gave us an opportunity, and we went to our citizens and we said, what do you want? We don't have a traditional downtown in La Vista. They said, we want a downtown. So we couldn't do what is traditional, but what we could do is develop an area that's a collection point for our citizens, someplace that you can go and you can see our neighbors. You'll be able to enjoy the park. You'll be able to walk up the hill to the retail area, to the music venue, to the bars, the restaurants, to the shopping, to the professional services. It's a great place. It's going to be for our citizens to be able to join or to see each other. The reason I show you these, you see those arches across 80, that's actually 84th Street. We're not going to do an underpass. We're actually going to take out enough ground that it will become a bridge structure. The whole idea of La Vista City Council is that when you cross Harrison Street, you'll know that you entered into La Vista. Because right now, really, if you come from 84th and Center, you go through Omaha and you go through Ralston and you pass through La Vista and you get to Papillion and eventually you run into Springfield down there. Even though we work together, we all want our own identity. And so La Vista City Council's made a decision to put some money into 84th Street. We want it to be a landmark for the county. If you notice in these two pictures, this is going to be what's underneath the amphitheater. This is important to the council and maybe to the other residents that have not moved to La Vista, but to preserve some of our history. As you can see, it's very well lit. It's got a lot of landscape. Does anyone pick up the design that I'm talking about? Remember the House of Nines? We're going to use that as part of the retaining walls to link our past with our future. I actually really like that idea. Project schedule. I've always talked in the past about what's coming. It's here. Work's already started. This development, maybe not 100%, but the pictures I showed you today should be completed by May of 2023. Not very far off. So we're working hard on that. The other thing I want to mention is we've got a large soccer complex. It's been in the news for 6 years. We've been working on it. They are moving dirt. Fields will go in. It'll be 12 all-purpose fields lighted with a synthetic turf. Field house, tennis center will be in phase 2. That project, after many fumbles, mumbles, some interesting phone calls, is going to begin, or it's already begun, and it should be open, if not early summer, definitely in the fall of next year. What that means, I talked about that diversified tax base, that hotel tax, how important that is to us. A complex like this that's going to be able to bring in national, regional, state tournaments are going to be able to stay at those 760 hotel rooms that we've got. So again, we, as a city, they qualified for our economic development program. City Council voted to do that, due to a $3 million grant. That's a big investment. The numbers that we've looked at, the consultants that we've used to give us very accurate numbers on what new tax revenue can be generated. And then as a conservative politician, I cut their numbers in half. That $3 million investment, including interest, with only what is there today, should be paid back to the city within an 8-year period. That's a good investment. I don't think any incentive should be a giveaway. I think it should be an investment, and I think that's something that not only the city of La Vista has done, but then also all the other mayors and the county. Last thing I'm going to touch on here, folks, is the effort that the United Cities of Sarpy County makes. That's made up of the 5 mayors. It's our lobbying group that keeps an eye on what's going down in Lincoln. It's a group that's quite unique. It doesn't matter what the topic is. Doesn't matter if we oppose or if we're in support. If all 5 entities do not agree, our lobbyist does not work on it for us. And I always want to give Springfield special attention to this, being the smallest city today. At the time, Dorothy was your mayor. And the cost for that lobbyist was about $7,000. It was $35,000 for the year, $7,000 per city. And we had discussions about, well, you know, we could base it off of population and do that type of thing. But Dorothy stood up and said, no, we're going to pay our full share. And it's worked out great, because what it's done is it's unified us, and it's made us a special voice in Lincoln. It's brought 150,000 opinions, and the senators pay more attention to that than the 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 people that Springfield had at the time. So we've been able to get legislation passed. We continue to work on it. Rusty talked about the legislation on annexation so that they could get over federal ground. Not too many years ago, La Vista led legislation to get some incentives changed and to give us some opportunity. Gretna used it to get the Gretna Outlet Mall. We're working on legislation again this year. The one thing that you will always hear from the cities, and I truly believe this, is that the best decisions should be at the local level. You can call us. Most of the people in La Vista know where I live. Most of the people in La Vista have my phone number. We hear their opinions, their concerns, and their issues at a ground level basis. I think once you start to get further away from your base, it's harder to communicate with your citizens. And not only has the United Cities helped bring their voice to Lincoln, but it's brought us together to work on issues which in which in return makes us a very strong, very united, fastest growing county in the state of Nebraska. Again, thank you for letting me be here today. Hope everybody has a great day.
I want to thank Andrew for what he does. A lot of the home run projects in Sarpy County are what Andrew does, and it's a unique relationship, so appreciate that. Phil Green from the city is with us. He's the deputy city administrator a year now. Actually, the day he started is the day we went into COVID, and he was given incident command day one, and I don't think he's had a normal life since. One day he'll do his normal duties. But Phil, welcome. He joined us from Blair, if he sounds familiar. Excellent addition. A lot of common themes. I just want to build real quickly on what Doug said about the United Cities. Doug is the one that created that and has been the impetus behind it. If you've been around a while, I think Sarpy County had a history of being dysfunctional, and the city's had a history of fighting probably. I think most annexation law in the state of Nebraska is defined by Sarpy versus somebody. So it tells you a lot about the history. But the last, I would say, 15 years has been extremely healthy. And I give a lot of credit to Doug Kindig with the United Cities. I think that was your idea. And then through the change of mayors, everybody is stuck with that concept, and it is absolutely true. Papillion, Bellevue, La Vista, and Gretna could all agree to do something if Springfield says, no, we don't support it, and we don't work on that issue. We compete hard and we cooperate hard. And I think with the sewer agency most recently, it's really improved the relationship with Sarpy County itself as well. So I want to thank the commissioners for that. This picture I have up here in managing growth, preserving community really drives almost everything we do. When I became mayor, we were at the beginning of our growth curve. Doug mentioned Walmart moving from 84th Street. That moved into La Vista, into Papillion, and I would say that was the beginning of our growth curve. That was Market Point, and some of those things were starting to develop about that point in time, and we've had the explosive growth since that point. And early on, about that point in time, we were posed with the question of, we're growing so fast, and a lot was happening on 370, but then the question was asked, can you get too big? And that was a hard question. You got to keep growing, but you can't lose the small town feel was kind of the answer, but then was really bothered by what's that even mean? What's small town mean? And if we can't articulate it and get it beyond a political statement, how do we encourage it? How do we protect it? Lots of communities around Nebraska and around the nation lose their downtowns, lose their identities. And so this picture really informed that whole question. I couldn't put any words to what small town feel meant, but I could look at that picture and say, that's it for Papillion. That picture is Father's Day weekend of probably for the last 70 years. It's our Papillion Days Parade. Bellevue is a river town, the oldest city in Nebraska. And Papillion is a railroad town. The main line of the Union Pacific came through Papillion. History's been a big item and community. All of that, though, is with our growth. Figure out the computer. Just want to show this picture. You just see a bunch of colored dots. The point of reference, the white line in the middle is Highway 370. And on the right side, that's about 96th Street, Walnut Creek. And on the left side, it's I-80 is the angled one down the middle. So that's the 370 corridor, 96 to I-80. Each of those colored blocks is a development that is publicly known. It's been to the Planning Commission, City Council, so the public's aware of it. And the ones that are not colored, and you can just see the farm ground, but most of that available ground has already been secured. It's optioned, it's been bought, or it's in the planning process. Basically to show there's not much developable land left in Papillion. If you see a cornfield north of Schramm, it's probably the last time it's being harvested, or it might be planted one more time, and that's about it. Most of the ground has been taken. The variety in there is huge. Residential, commercial, we got recreation, data center, logistics, just a real wide variety of things going on in there. And it's becoming quite an employment center as well. Some of the current projects, the sewer agency was mentioned a couple of times. And the county has really been the lead on this, and the 5 cities have come together. And that's enabling, again, Doug mentioned 60% of the land in Sarpy County is not developable. So as that area along 370 that I showed, those cornfields get developed, we need that land south of the ridgeline, so that agency will enable that. Facebook and Google people hear a lot about, but what may not be aware of are the next 3, R&R Commerce Park, Papillion Foods, and Amazon. R&R is a company out of Des Moines, and the Omaha-Lincoln Metro really had no vacant industrial land and no vacant buildings. Our vacancy rate on industrial is extremely low, and Nebraska was probably missing out on companies doing site selection because they'd want to come here, but there were no buildings for industrial. They didn't have time to build, so they bypassed Nebraska. R&R came in and built some buildings speculatively. Each building's about 250 to 350,000 square foot of industrial flex. And when they came in and built, that really created the first industrial vacancy in the Omaha-Lincoln metro area. And now they have built, I think they're just pulled their building permit, I think, for their 5th building. So they've got over 1 million square feet of industrial flex new to market in about the last 3 years. And they've just secured some more land for a few more buildings. And then there's another Des Moines company coming and joining them. So that's in the 5370 areas, becoming really important to the entire Omaha-Lincoln for industrial. Papillion Foods is the old Shopko distribution center at 132nd and 370. Shopko pulled out, and that building was vacant. I think at the time it was probably one of the largest industrial buildings that was vacant in Nebraska, and so we were worried that something like that could be on the market forever. Hormel bought it, and they have a division they now call Papillion Foods. If you go into like a Hy-Vee and buy like prepackaged high-end charcuterie meats, that's what they produce. They've been doing the product for a large number of years out of 2 facilities in California. But out of that distribution system, they couldn't get through the whole United States to the other coast. And so they needed a Midwest presence so they could get to both coasts, the Gulf and the Canadian border within 1 day. And that's what's being done out of the Papillion Foods. They're, I think, publicly saying it's about 1,200 jobs. I believe it's a little bit more to that, and those are new to market jobs in the area. They started about $19 an hour with no skills and full benefits, and their hope is that if somebody goes to work for them, they stay with them and make them a career, so the wages only go up as they get certified. So that's new to market. Amazon, the really large building at right next to it at 132nd 370, I think they're still saying about 1,500 jobs. Those would be about $15 an hour. Amazon's realizing when somebody comes to work for them, they're probably only going to be there a couple of years generally. So they're starting a lot with the people that are traditionally unemployable or need some supplemental income. And so unlike Papillion Foods, where they'll stay there forever, you come to Amazon, you're probably leaving. Amazon's had some reputation issues, and I think they're learning from that. And what they want to do is when somebody unemployable comes to work for them, they're starting them at about $15 an hour, getting some of the benefits as well. But then they're teaching them job skills during that 2 years. They'll have some partnerships with the community college, teach interview skills, resumeing, with the idea then that when you do leave, at least you're leaving a little bit better off, and now you're probably more employable. So we're excited about those from an employment center. A couple of residential projects I've got a separate slide on, bungalows and Tower District. I want to point out the NRD recreational areas. I don't think people realize what Sarpy County has as amenities. We have a really good relationship with the Papio NRD, and just in Papillion's jurisdiction, we now have 4 bodies of water that are the NRD built. We just brought 2 online last month. So people know Walnut Creek, the one that's been there about 10 to 12 years, probably 14 years now. Prairie Queen at 132nd and 370, the big one you can see, but we just brought on 2 smaller ones. Big Elk at about 108th and Cornhusker, and then Portal, which is by Thrasher, at about 126th and Cornhusker. What's nice about those is they're all stocked, they're managed by Game and Parks, they are part of the city's park system, and we have trail systems around there, so when people want amenities, get out, walk a trail, go fishing, you don't have to leave Sarpy County. We got 4 bodies of water just in our jurisdiction. And from a trail perspective, Big Elk is 1 mile around, Portal is 2 miles around, Walnut Creek is 3 miles around, and Portal is 4 miles around. So maybe Prairie Queen's 4, so pick the one you want. And Game and Parks is even being very careful about what they stock in there. So each lake has a different species of fish. So if you want to have a variety, the 2 that just went in are yellow perch and smallmouth bass are the 2 that just opened up. So we're really proud of the recreation areas. This slide I just want to show, it's the same slide of 370 down the middle from about 96 to I-80, but it's not the residential colored blocks that I showed on the previous one. Each of these blowouts is one of the major industrial projects going on, or a special project, kind of like the NRD. So it's just kind of to show that corridor in Sarpy County is just exploding, whether again it's industrial, manufacturing, residential, a lot going on in there. Unique development that we're learning a lot from. You hear the term, and you heard it once this morning already, missing middle housing. And it's a term the legislature's starting to use a lot, planning and developers are using it a lot. That word started to come out. It really was coined, from everything I could learn, by a guy by the name of Dan Paralek. He's got a planning design company in San Diego called Opticos. And he claims that he's the one that really coined the word. He's a thought leader in the planning and development world. And what he was seeing was most developments, one, they're very segregated. You get your 300,000 neighborhoods, your 400s, and your 500s. You don't mix those. And we usually talk single-family residential, or if we talk multifamily, it's a large number of units, 60, 70, 80, 100, 400 unit developments. And what he was saying is, where's the old duplex, triplex, fourplex, eightplex? Not a lot of people were doing those types of things, whether it's in a rental model or an ownership model. And so he started working on this idea of that being the missing middle, the duplex to about the eightplex. Smaller scale, but still multifamily. It could be owner or rental. And there's an Omaha developer, Jerry Reimers, who was struggling with some of that same concept in the Omaha context. And Jerry ended up hooking up with Dan, and they're doing the development at 132nd and Lincoln. It's called the Bungalows at Prairie Queen, and it's highlighted in Dan's book, The Missing Middle, and it's actually got a National Design Award. So we're learning a lot from this project, and now Ralston's doing one with Jerry. I think there's going to be one in Gretna, or just north of Gretna as well. And so I think this concept's going to take off a little bit, some of the learnings we've got. We've got the land at 84th and 370, the old Trumbull farm, that's been just that cornfield forever in the middle of Papillion. That's now under control by a developer, and he's bringing a lot of that missing middle concept along with the mixed use concepts that you see in the Omaha developments, kind of blending those together and working on a project there that's going to be called the Tower District. I just want to give one quick commercial and then wrap up. The state of Nebraska is one of the few states in the United States that does not have an official Vietnam Veterans Memorial. The Nebraska Vietnam Veterans Memorial Foundation was doing site selection to try to find a site to build one, and they approached Papillion, and we actually had a piece of land, it's about 2.5 acres, that we thought would be good for it, and we entered into a 50-year memo of understanding, and the city's going to donate the land for the memorial, and they're doing fundraising now. And it's going to be right next to the amphitheater at 108th and 370. And they're doing fundraising for it now, raising awareness. It's a statewide project. Bellevue University is a very key partner. It's really innovative. If anybody's involved in a veterans group, you want to learn more about it, or you work with a veterans population, we'd love to get a group out and give a little bit of a presentation about that memorial. And I've got some flyers with me as well. Thank you.
So I'm Paul Lambert. I'm the mayor of Plattsmouth, and want to welcome you to Plattsmouth. We are south of the border, south of Sarpy County, across the Platte River. But come down and see us. We have a lot to offer, and we are part of the metro, so I feel we belong here. We are part of what's going on. And some of the things that some of these cities went through a few years back, we are experiencing now. Plattsmouth has a tagline. It's catch our current. We're the Plattsmouth, mouth of the Platte River and the Missouri. But that also applies to the excitement and the electricity that we feel in Plattsmouth, what's going on. Of course, 2019 dampened that a little bit with the flood, as we all realize. We lost our wastewater, our water plant. We have them running again, but we have entered into a construction phase. We're a city of about 6,500, and we're gonna be spending $100 million for a new wastewater plant and improve our water system. This is something that we're looking down the road for the next 60 to 80 years. So you that are good with math, if you divide 100 million by 6,500 people, that's a pretty big chunk of change. We do have FEMA involved in it, NEMA, and there are some, the rest will be local monies, but it's something that the ratepayer is just going to notice maybe $1 or $2 on their bill, the way we've been able to leverage our small share of it locally. So we feel that's very important, and it improves our possibilities of growth in the near future. My strategy and the strategy of the city is there's 3 important factors when you want to grow a community. The first one is jobs. You have to have jobs for people. Second thing is housing. You got to have a place for that person and their family to live. And the third is the quality of life. Why do people want to live in your community? We've heard some great examples of that already, and I'll follow suit with that. I think it's very important. I wish our slides would have come through, because I have one of groundbreaking for Vireo Systems. That is a company that's investing $15 million in a facility in Plattsmouth. We're going to employ over 200 people there. Vireo has a unique story. They're out of Madison, Tennessee. They do a lot with Med Center here, University Med Center. And they needed presence in Nebraska. So they came and rented just a little storefront, just a bay, for their presence here, I guess I want to say. They did some filling of capsules, some minor things. Pretty soon it was 2 bays, then it was 3 bays. Then we had worked with them and talked with them, and they decided they needed their own building. So they built a small building with our assistance. And a relationship, a romance, it's been 12 years now, and they came and they're investing $15 million and 200 jobs in our community, which is big for us. That's a lot of good, well-paying jobs. We also have a company, it's New Idea Manufacturing. And I love this story of this gentleman. He worked, it's CNC machines, kind of computerized lathes. I don't understand all of it, but he worked for a gentleman using one of those lathes, and he had the initiative that he went to the gentleman and said, could I rent that at night when I'm not working for you and be able to do some work? And the owner of the company let him do that. Well, he started out, came to us as a one-man operation. We worked with him, and now he's investing $5 million in Plattsmouth in a new plant. Will employ 40 people. This has been over a 10-year period, I would say. And when I several years ago, walked into his place, and he's got a picture of the International Space Station, a big poster up on the wall. And I didn't think too much of it. I thought it was a little different, but kept going back, and it was still up there. And I finally said to him, you've got somebody here that's really interested in space, don't you, that enjoys that? And he said, well, the reason that is up there is we have parts on that. They have machined some parts that are in the International Space Station. So from Plattsmouth, Nebraska to the International Space Station, it's a neat story from a man who started just with some initiative on his own and built this company. And I think that's what we're all about. I mean, I don't care what community you're in. That's what we see here in the Midwest, people with initiative that will go out there, and I think it's our job, and I know the other mayors do a great job of it in their communities, but be welcoming and let these people live the American dream, do what they want to do. That's pretty much the first piece of the puzzle is jobs. We have some jobs. Housing is the next piece of the puzzle that I think is very important and something we all want. Yes, it's tax revenue, but you want those rooftops. You want those people living in your community, going to your retail locations, going out and having dinner, going to your parks, things like that. So we have a builder at the present time that has a track, and with our assistance is going to build 50 homes, single-family homes, moderate income, 200, 300,000, something in that range. So that's going to help us with that. And any of you that's been to Plattsmouth, I won't say this again, but I wish I had a picture of our old high school. It's between 8th and 9th and Main Street, so it's right on Main Street. Built in, I believe, 1916. Was a great school to talk to people in town. It's in everybody's heart. They either went there, their parents went there, somebody went there they knew. I found that out when they first talked about there might have to be a demolition project. Everybody, their heart was in that. Well, we were fortunate enough, we found a developer that is willing to invest $12 million, in fact, has started on it, make 21 apartments in that building. So we're keeping that building, bringing it back to life. And that is, as I say, it's in the heart of our citizens of Plattsmouth, and I think that's very important. For future development, I've got, and the city has purchased it, we have 5 acres of land, 3 blocks from our main street, or from downtown, a block off our main street. And we are looking at developers to develop that into some, I don't foresee it being apartments, but some nice townhouses, things like that, but a very nice location. So that's going to be our next development for housing. And I think that's, as I say, that's very important. That's our second step. We get the jobs, we got the housing, and I think retail and everything else comes around that. A big thing is quality of life. What can you do when you're not working? What can your kids do in the summertime or after school? And with that, I'll add our school system is very, very good in Plattsmouth. The citizens just passed a $15 million bond issue. And they're emphasizing, we have a great culinary arts department in our high school, and also the trades. They put in a beautiful, I've never been in a shop that looks that clean, but some of the crafts, wood crafts, metal crafts, and also auto maintenance. So they're training the young people at an early age, letting them dabble in what career looks good to them if they're not planning on going on to school. But that our schools are very, very good in Plattsmouth. And our main street, we're a railroad town too, just as Mayor Black said Papillion was, but we were Burlington Northern. In the 1880s, they played a big role in our community. In fact, they built a large 3-story building that's the Fitzgerald Hotel is what it was called, named after one of their workers. That today is apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floor. First floor, it's right at the corner of 6th and Main, any of you that are familiar with Plattsmouth. The first floor on the corner is an ice cream shop. Great ice cream, by the way, I can tell you that. And then there's the Fork and Hammer. It's a restaurant, very nice one, kind of a Cajun cuisine. And next to it is La Bella's, an Italian restaurant. So that's our retail opportunity and adds to our quality of life. On our main street, which in the past 10 years, there's been over $8 million invested in the facade, storefronts, some of that public, some of it private money, but we have 50 retail opportunities on our main street. And I can tell you right now, today, there are no vacancies. Our main street is alive and well, and that's what we want. The one thing we are working for, I'll go back to housing, is that second floor residency. Have retail on the first floor, the second floor, which, as I say, they're 1860s buildings. Everybody's got a second floor. Used to be where the shop owner lived. Now let's make it apartments, let people live downtown. Because if you live downtown, if you live there, it's easy to walk into a restaurant, any of the stores. And that's one thing, being close to Sarpy County, the metro area, that's a double-edged sword. It's wonderful to have everything close by, but it's hard for some of our retailers to compete or provide the selection that people want. With that, we do have great parks in Plattsmouth, and that is quality of life again. I'm going to add that to it. That's our park system. Soccer fields, baseball fields, we have a great swimming pool, we have a community center, all the weight equipment, an inside walking trail, and with that, we also have our senior center connected to it. The seniors can go in the senior center, they don't have to be a member of the community center, they can walk, you can go up there about any time and there's a good either pinochle or pitch game going on, and so we provide for our seniors. And I think that's important. As I said, our schools are important, but the other end of life is very important also, and trust me, I'm getting closer to it, so it's even more important all the time. But we provide, I think we've got those 3 blocks. Come to Plattsmouth, we've got jobs for you, we've got a place for you to live, and the quality of life, and our Main Street, some of you, if you've been on Main Street, I will say and don't throw anything at me, but I think it's second to none in this area. I truly believe it. There are a lot of great main streets in this area, but I'll put ours at the top, and we work hard to keep it that way. We keep the small town feel, the community feel. You can walk down the street in Plattsmouth, and you're going to see a familiar face, or somebody may just out, somebody you haven't met yet, a friend you haven't met. They'll say good morning, good afternoon, whatever's appropriate, hello. It's a small town feel. And with that, and with how proud we are of our Main Street, we do 3 major festivals every year. Last year was, of course, a different year for all of us, but in 19 we did the Food Truck War, which we will do again, which was our chamber, just a great, unique opportunity. They got a hold of, there were food trucks, came as far as Des Moines, 32 food trucks that came to Plattsmouth. Close off Main Street, about 6 blocks of Main Street, have the food trucks. We had in our entertainment plaza, we had refreshments, adult and otherwise. We had a band. We had over 5,000 people there that evening for that, and most from the metro area, and I thank you for that. It was a lot of fun. Every year in September is our Harvest Festival. It started in 1934. It's the longest running continuous festival in the state. 1934, it was a Cass County King Corn Carnival. They thought back then it was cute to spell everything with K's, so it was 5 K's. Well, being sensitive, we did change it a few years back to the Harvest Festival. Still the same event, 3 days, small town event, parades, wonderful food, the carnival. It's a great thing. And then after that, and I said I wouldn't say it again, I wish we had our car show. We've got a picture of Main Street taken from a drone, nothing but classic cars up and down Main Street. In 2019, I believe the count, it was between 600 and 700 cars that came to Plattsmouth for that night for our show and shine. This year, getting it going again, we had 450 cars, which still not a bad car show. But we work hard at that. Again, the refreshments, the band, just a small town friendly feel. And if you ever want that feel, please come to Plattsmouth and see what we have. We have a lot to offer, maybe a little different than some other communities, but I think it's very welcoming and something you would all enjoy. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you to the Chamber for putting this on. I enjoy the time I spend with the Chamber here and the great job that they do. So thank you all.
Well, thank you very much. Nice to be here, and thank you for the Bellevue Chamber for putting this on. I want to introduce a couple people real quickly. Rick Hoppy is our city administrator. Rick came from Lincoln. He worked for Chris Beitler for 12 years, and we're really happy to have Rick on board with us. Also, somebody that's probably pretty familiar to all of you is Quinn Cooper. And Quinn has just recently joined as the president of the Ralston Chamber. So we're happy to have Quinn on our staff, and also happy to have Rick working with us too. Well, I really wasn't born in 1919, but I'm probably the oldest mayor of the group, but I've been the mayor for 25 years, and I finish this term up, it'll be 28. So it's really been a really successful run. I've really enjoyed the work, and I know every pothole in Ralston, let me tell you. So during my 24 years, I've never been more excited about the uptrend of our community. Ralston is moving forward in a new direction. We're attracting new businesses and new residents to our community. We developed a project called the Hinge Redevelopment Project, and it was bringing in a lot of new retail opportunities, new residents, and new public spaces. New Businesses Incubator has just been started, which is attracting new young entrepreneurs, and has already created 3 new businesses and 30 new jobs. A new public gathering spot called the Greenery Green, which I'll show you a picture of in a little bit, will be a flexible community gathering spot featuring a 27-foot LED screen like the one you see up in Lincoln. Why Rick brought the whole idea back down to Ralston, and we're putting it up here in Ralston as well. And it's going to have a stage so we can actually have some entertainment. Over 100 new housing units are planned, and we are attracting more than $30 million in new investment in the next year and a half, and are very close to closing another $60 million building project. One of the things that we did was we put together a federal economic opportunity zone. So we developed, which means that once you invest something in Ralston, it goes 25% farther with your tax benefits. And we have put together staff with great experience in these projects and our planning and permitting process that is quickly and easily to navigate. So when you come in, you don't have to go through a lot of red tape. Don't have to go to Omaha and worry about what's going on. You just come to Ralston, build and go. So Ralston is booming. I might add that we have an excellent school system, just like all the other communities do around here. And we just successfully passed an $83 million new bond issue. And so we're really going to be putting a lot of money into our school system. What do you go forward here? There we go. We have made tough choices in the city. When we built our arena, we became a little bit cash poor, and we ended up, Standard & Poor's looked at us and they said, well, what is the bond rating actually went from an A- to a BB, which means that we really had to, we couldn't borrow money without spending a lot more in interest rates. So we made the tough choices in 2021 to pay down our debt and increase our cash balances and put our city in a better standing position with bond rating agencies. It wasn't easy, but we cut the library by 10%. We also reduced employees by about 10%, and these choices allowed us to pay off $2.8 million in short-term interest debt, which is really, really good. So we also hired a new city administrator and a finance administrator with experience in budgeting, planning, and the arena oversight. And again, we paid off the $2.8 million, which really helped us out. The Ralston Arena is an economic catalyst for us. The arena has been placed where we place our focus on the physical responsibility, has created an amazing transformation. We hired a private sector company to come in and manage the arena, and it has turned out to be just a really, really good decision. And they are booking more acts and generating more profit than we've done in the past. So the new content in the arena has made a huge difference. The Spectra has cut the operating deficit by 33%, and the arena even though the arena was closed for a whole year last year due to the pandemic, why the Spectra is still doing an outstanding job. We've gotten attention to most of our well-known bond rating agencies, and we were able to demonstrate a lower debt, and we have more cash on hand, better performing arena. Standard & Poor's took the first step, and we actually got this year a raise in our bond rating. So we want one more step why we'll be in really good financial shape and be able to refinance a lot of our bonds and move forward. The big redevelopment project I talked about earlier is the Hinge project. And the Hinge is a redevelopment project that runs from 72nd Street to 77th Street from Maine to Burlington. This whole area is a walkable community where the younger generation will want to live, work, and play. The Hinge seeks to tie to the new area and our traditional downtown on 77th Street and links our arena to downtown. So the Hinge came about as our arena's over here. We go up 72nd Street to Maine and up to Maine, so this is the Hinge. So that's how the Hinge name was formed. Our goal with this is to attract new businesses and establish Ralston as a great place for young entrepreneurs. We anticipate when fully built out, the Hinge will be a $250 million project for us. The former site of the old granary, and you've probably driven up Main Street and seen the old granary setting there. Why, that granary's been around since 1930s. And the Hinge redevelopment project that runs from 72nd to Main Street to Burlington, let's see. The site of this granary is a big project currently under construction. Ralston's own granary building is revitalized to house commercial and retail tenants in a historical setting. It's a very unique and will be the home of some unique businesses, including a home furniture store called Out of the Box. I don't know if you've heard about Out of the Box, but it's in Lincoln, Nebraska now, and it's moving to Ralston, and it's going to have 30,000 square feet of refurbished furniture. So they go out and they buy furniture in these homes. They buy the whole complete house, including the pictures, the portraits, everything, furniture. They even take some banisters, some of the kitchen shelving, and they bring it in and they set it up in room-like formats, and they sell it to everybody. So it's really going to be a really cool place. So that'll be in the back end of the granary. And in the front end of the granary, we're going to have events, and there'll be weddings, and there'll be business meetings and other kinds of events. In the front of the granary, you can see there, we have the yard in front of the granary is being developed as a private outdoor space called the Granary Green. It will serve as a gathering spot for both the Hinge and for Ralston. As you can see the slide, there's a 25 or 27-foot television, LED TV, will be the key feature, and the Granary Green will be our community family room. It'll also where we'll be able to watch Husker games for the community, hold our traditional city events, and provide a space for our country bar, if you haven't been there, Bushwhackers. They will have a lot of entertainment outside. So this whole Granary Green out in front here will actually be, they're putting in a lot of gas lines so that they can actually put in heaters, and they hope to be able to use this 10 months out of the year instead of just maybe 5 or 6. So it's really going to be a cool facility right on Main Street there. A new lighting in the public courtyard, which is going to be called the Muse. So the granary here is on the right, my right up here, and then all the townhomes and apartments are on the other side, and in between is going to be mews with lights over the top of it, and so it'll be really an attractive area. So it's worth repeating to any investors that the Ralston, we do have an economic opportunity zone, which is that federal tax designation, which means you can invest and get 25% further with your money. And that's the reason we're having a lot of investors come to Ralston and look at our city. It has been a key to our private sector development. The Hinge Flats, Jerry Reimers, who Mayor Black just talked about as the Prairie Queen project earlier, has opened up the new Hinge Flats in Ralston. And these are new apartments, separate buildings and a courtyard. And Jerry's done a phenomenal job of putting together these new units and the missing middle that we've been talking about all along. And so it's about a $10 million project. One phase is already done. We've got to run it out. So he's really excited about how well the project is doing. What makes the Hinge and the Granary so unique for our city is it has partnered with the private sector to invest in people as well as buildings. And the city has invested more than $1 million in generous Ralston donor to an I See It Ventures, a private venture firm, added an also $1 million. So I See It Venture recruits and nurtures young entrepreneurs, and they have already created 30 jobs and a number of part-time positions. Two most prominent of their investments is called the Deviled Egg Company. And if you haven't seen the deviled eggs, they're in some Hy-Vees around. And you can order them online, but they're phenomenal. She has all kinds of, she had like 5 or 6 different flavors of eggs, and they're really good. And also another company called Event Vista. Event Vista is taken off very well. The firm is an online promotion company which has a variety of social media platforms. And in only a few months, they have 500 clients. They're growing very, very rapidly. And it's a new business, and it developed it right here in the city of Ralston. We're so blessed. The other cities talk about their main street and their downtown. Ralston has a phenomenal downtown, and we have the biggest parade in the state of Nebraska on Independence Day. And we've always liked this 5-way intersection right down from City Hall. And it's really unique, but it gives us the downtown feel. And the new 72nd, we have about 40,000 cars going up and down 72nd Street, and we want them to turn in and come into downtown Ralston. So we are designing a new downtown 5-way intersection, and the new 72nd will be, in addition to a new landscaping and public park. The current plan calls for redevelopment of a food truck park at the gateway of 72nd and Main, and the entry will lead to our new streetscape together with a private and investments in the Hinge. We will rebuild this 5-way intersection, and we're going to put in a water feature and a plan for kids for splash in, and we'll be updating the gazebo and the plaza where Santa Claus comes and meets the kids for holiday magic in the late November. And entered in the city green, it'll be a lot more attractive, and there'll also be seating along, you can see, for our parade that we have, our Independence Day parade. So this is the landscape and the streetscape on what the new 72nd Street will look like. And I'm going to end this with a little big news, but I'm not going to tell you what the big news is. But it's big news that for years and years and years we've been trying to sell the naming rights for the arena. And our efforts for the arena shows it's finally paying off. We actually we struck a 10-year deal with the business to name the arena after them. So look out in the coming weeks, you're going to hear it won't be called the Ralston Arena anymore. So it's not going to be CHI either. But anyway, it'll be a new arena with a new name. So with that, it's my pleasure on being here today. Sarpy County is a great county. So if you think about the old football field, remember when we played Penn State? Why, the football field on the map went like this. Well, because there was a touchdown made by Penn State or something like that and beat Nebraska in the last 10 seconds. Well, that's kind of what Ralston is, you know. We're a little blurb out there on the side of Sarpy County. But, you know, we really do appreciate the county and everything you do, and we're just happy to be here today. So, thank you very much.
Well, Mayor, seeing the picture of the old bushwhackers, that was the first place I had to dance with my wife, so I always remember that. But I stole her from Gretna, so. Well, good morning. Thank you, Chambers. Great to see everybody here again. After last year, my computer wouldn't even work. I couldn't even talk, so. Sorry we didn't have it in the budget for slide presentation, but we did have new computers going in this week at our, doing a big upgrade right now, so. To start off with, it's been a very good year for us. With the announcement of Facebook's expansion to the south, which puts it in our area, which was a $400 million development. Hold on, Kathleen actually got me notes, so. A $670 million investment in phase one construction, and phase one began earlier this year. The city is already annexed and we have that in our area. And along with that, if you've been down Highway 50 and Plattsmouth Road, you see a lot going on in that southwest corner. We started Springfield Commerce there with an investor, and right now it's going really well. They started a big warehouse, U.S. Auto Force. They have auto parts and tires and stuff like that. So that was a really nice to see that go in, and they're working on all the infrastructure there also, and they're starting to talk about working on phase two. The only problem is, like what we've explained, is having the sewer capacity. We gave them the rest of it for their phase one. Springfield Pines, our housing development, to move to the next one. We have 128 single-family resident lots. As of today, every lot's bought. We are out of lots again, which is hopefully with the sewer agency, we can kind of get things going in the next 2 years, because they're ready to pull the pin on the phase two and other developments that people have talked about doing east of town there. So, Springfield Elementary School, if you've been down our main street, they are going to be completing the spring of next year, Springfield Elementary, which is a nice addition to see a new school go into our facility in our downtown. Sorry, I'm kind of backwards on some of these things. Now, city projects that we are working on. We're actually developing a new well to raise our capacity. And we have 2 wells right now. We had a well go down. So we've been in a process out by the SSAP soccer grounds, just north of 50 and Highway 50 and Plattsmouth Road. And that's been a project ongoing. And hopefully we get that completed in the next year and a half. And with the sewer agency, everything's been going along really well. We will be retiring our sewer system and actually hooking on to it. Like Mayor Lambert says, sewers are not cheap, and $100 million. And with a town of like 2,000, that's a lot to sell to everybody. Road improvements, we have worked on our main street. That's the other thing, if you went to see the new school being built, we've had a heck of a project going on, putting the curbs in on Main Street by the elementary, the bank, and the library, trying to get that work done, but we're doing that, and we're finishing off from 132nd on Plattsmouth to Highway 50, finishing, re-blacktopping that project too. And in working with our schools, the school uses our Legion ball field at Springfield Elementary, and then up at our city park is a softball complex. We've been able to install new LED lights in the Legion ballpark, and also we put new lights into Springfield City Park. And this has improved everything. It lets the boys play at night because Title IX, you got to have lights for both. We put new, at the City Park, we already put in new restroom facilities and upgraded all the dugouts and stuff like that. So it has really turned around to be really nice. Then again, at Buffalo Park, where Legion Ballpark is, we've put in Frisbee golf and a few other amenities. We actually do have a signage that one of our council members is a special ed teacher, and it's a sign language sign. So a child can point at, bathroom, cold, hot, thirsty. It's a sign that they use to be able to tell you what they need. Then our splash park, we have parties there. It's been going, we've got it fully built out now. Everything's used on it, and it's been a great amenity to our city. And then we're working on some other newer, hopefully upgrading or expanding our Frisbee golf, and then some of the others is a basketball court, redoing it, and a couple other amenities, along with our trails and that. So, like I've been listening to the other mayors, they talk about the amenities. We got to have those trails. You got to have the parks and everything to lure the younger people in, because we were really an older town at one time. But we're starting to look better in every way there. So to keep it short, last thing I'm going to touch base on is our library. They've done an exceptional job through this pandemic with projects and keeping the kids happy and busy. They've had some renovations, new carpet got installed, and 2021 the library celebrated 20 years in the current building, 10 years on the addition, which if you saw what they had before, this was really nice. And then in December of 2020, the Springfield Memorial Library was recognized as one of America's star libraries. So thank you for my library staff and board. But I'm keeping it short today, but I appreciate being out here and let you out of here early so you don't have to listen to any more of us. So thank you very much.
Can we have another round of applause for our mayors today?